Okay, so welcome to the URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS, and I'm joined by my beloved co-host, Errick McCollum. Hello, Errick. Welcome back.
Always good to be back at the start of the EuroLeague season. Did you miss me?
A lot. I was so happy to see you wearing the right shirt, actually, for this podcast. So I'm super excited. It's been a while, so we're all missing your great intakes and takes and insights about basketball. But we also have a debut URBONUS appearance by Errick's ex-teammate, Braian Angola from Hapoel Tel Aviv. So hello, Braian.
Hey guys, it's a pleasure to be here. Listening to Errick last year, every time the podcast was on, it's amazing.
It's actually difficult to have ex-teammates because we spent like 30 minutes before actually starting recording the podcast. So thank God I told my wife that I will come back home pretty late, so I'll be fine.
Hey man, we had a really good season last year.
Yeah.
The chemistry on the team was amazing. A lot of team dinners.
Yes, brotherhood.
A lot of reunions.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why Braian joined us tonight, besides being a great basketball player, is that one good source told me that he is, quote unquote, a smart guy who knows EuroLeague well and in tune. But the other reason is events happening in Israel right now. So, first and foremost, our prayers go out to the people of Israel and to all innocent people affected by the recent attacks in Israeli territory. Stay strong, everyone. And, so to start with you, Braian, we're talking on Sunday nights, Sunday evening, just in case. We might publish this podcast on Monday. But anyways, are you safe? Do you feel safe right now? What's the current situation like in your area of Tel Aviv and the city in general? Because when I actually texted you earlier today, I was quite surprised when you told me that you went to the practice, you finished it, and you returned home, so you'll be free tonight. And I was like, I thought that you were hiding in the shelter, the last 2 days. So, people might have some different picture of what's really going on in the country. So could you paint a picture for us of the situation you're about right now?
Well, it's a tough situation. I mean, I've never been in places in a situation like this. I mean, it was in 2021 or something similar, not like this. But like yesterday, it was probably 6:30 in the morning. All you hear is the alarm going off. It's a siren that goes off in Tel Aviv. I wake up and I'm like, damn, it's happening again. And all you have to do is go hide in a shelter. For myself and people in Tel Aviv, it's not really a lot of stuff going on. But in the south part of Israel, which is, for me, it's close, 1 hour away from Israel, is unbelievable. I mean, you guys see the videos, people is getting murdered, people is getting kidnapping. It's something that I can't explain, the feeling, even though people do a really good job of telling us to stay calm, like we're safe over here. But for me, 1 hour away is nothing. I'm feeling all this, every street is empty, everybody's home. Today we went to the practice, it was just to see what was going on, what was going to happen. We have no clue what was going to happen yet with us. I mean, some people is trying to go home, go somewhere close so we can stay safe. But like I said, it's a tough situation. Not a lot of people feel safe. The teams in Eshkelon and those things over there, where is the main place where the war is going on right now, they are very evacuated. But it's a lot of people that are still there, and the streets, you see videos, you cannot be in the streets. They coming into the city and just shooting whoever's in the street, no matter who it is. So it's tough, man. I mean, pray, like you said, pray for the people of Israel, for us that are here, and hopefully get sorted out quick. I mean, I don't want nobody to be in this.
What are you hearing from your team, the management, and the local community? How do they perceive this conflict as being different from the previous instances? Because it's not the first time that Israel has been attacked from Gaza, but it's certainly the most significant one. So, what are the locals talking about this whole situation and the potential outcome of it?
I mean, I feel the locals and my teammates for once, it's like they might be the ones that had to go to the army and join the army, because I mean, some of my teammates are 21, 20 years old that are still in the army. Because in Israel, it's mandatory for you to go to the army when you're 18 to you're 21. So it's like, if they get a call, some of them already got it, and they will have to go. And it's tough because we're still in European competition. And I know I saw Israel, like, everything is normal, but at this point, like, basketball is a different subject right here. Like, we're talking about people getting kidnapped, people getting killed, and for us, some of the team, I think the whole team is going somewhere. They're trying to plan to go somewhere and stay somewhere, and the game got canceled this week, but next week probably will be a game. Depends how the outcome of what's going on right now. Nobody know what's going to happen, you know. Like, we're talking about when it was a war over there in Russia and Ukraine. It started, or it have been over more than a year and a half, 2 years that is going on. So we don't know what's going to happen. And some of my friends, my teammates have families that live in that area. Have families that are in the army. Have people that is missing. So I feel bad for them, because you kind of focus playing basketball when your family, you don't know where your family is, you know. You know what's going to happen to you people. So this is tough. I mean, I know we got to keep doing what we do, but at one point we just got to be able to see what's going to happen with their life and their people.
Do you hear what do they say on TV? What are the official numbers of deaths? Are they, starting to contain the attack? Are they responding? What's the situation?
I don't really see on TV, like, because I don't understand what they're saying, like their language. But what I see in Instagram, some of the Instagram pages, the official pages, is like it's over probably 300 kidnaps, missing people. It's over 600 dead people, murder, and it's over 2,000 people injured, and has more than 5,000 missiles already shot. And like we said before, Israel have been attacked with missiles, and the air dome is a very great protection for them. But this time they came into Israel. This time it's like they came into your backyard, come to your house, and take your kids. Something that you gotta protect yourself. You gotta protect your people, and it's like I say, it's tough. It's a tough situation. You can see it today. The faces of our teammates and the people, it was tough to see them. And me as somebody from Colombia, being in this situation is tough for me, because I can't imagine my family going through this, and seeing in their faces is really sad, man.
Speaking of protection, I read some reports that there was a special flight arranged for the foreigner players to travel to Athens in particular, both on Saturday and Sunday. And I've actually heard that the first flight faced quite a few challenges. For instance, the departure was delayed by 3 hours due to bombing in Tel Aviv. So they had to wait, for a safe window to take off. But they did manage, to safely reach Athens. So meanwhile, you remained in Israel. So can you shed some light on the plan for Hapoel Tel Aviv players? What are you going to do moving forward? Why did you stay?
We're just waiting for our team. They do a really good job of keeping us posted of what's going to happen and what's going on. We're just waiting for them to manage. I say right now, tomorrow we will probably have we will have a flight to go somewhere. We don't know yet where we're going, but we will in Israel. And it's tough. I mean, the airport is full of people. Everybody's trying to leave. So at the same moment, it's like you're trying to go, but the airport is over 1,000 people trying to leave because they don't know what's going to happen. And at one point, when it's wars, like, you don't know if they're going to shut down the airport. That's the only way to get out of Israel. Because, like I say, it's surrounded by people that want to do harm to them. So it's kind of a hard situation. From where you see it, it's unbelievable. And it's tough to be here because I get calls every day. Since yesterday, my phone's ringing all the time. My messages, I got over 100 messages from people back home, like, what's going on? What's happening? Are you okay? You got to get out of there. And,
did you have an option to join that flight?
We did. They called me yesterday and asked me about it, but I wanted to show my team what was going to happen and what they was going to do. I still have obligation with my team when I played here. In 2021, when I played here, they did a really good job too, to sending us somewhere to the north where it was safer. But at this time, it's a different situation. So I just wanted to make sure the team will give me a good chance to stay safe, and they did. They're doing a good job. So tomorrow we will leave Israel.
What you both foresee for the foreigner players this season in Israel? Do you anticipate a significant number of players hitting the market, becoming available? What agents try to tell you, Braian, what you might expect? And are there any exit clauses in contracts when you sign in Israel that would be related to some, safety situations like bombing, war, or something? Because as I've mentioned, it's not the first time something happens. And there were occasions that went to the court.
Well, right now for me, my agent texted me and he said if I wanted to go to Greece and feel safe over there, I was more welcome. But I think nobody's prepared for this. I mean, they had it before in the past, but like you say, with some missiles and stuff that they send over here, but the Air Dome do a really good job of protecting Israel, and the army and the intelligence of Israel do a really good job. But this time is different. They came into Israel, they're in the streets of Israel. So it's hard to figure out how the league will start again until all this is solved. And then the European teams, which is a couple of them, maybe Nesiona, Halon, Jerusalem, us, Tel Aviv, Herzliya, it's going to be hard to see how the European competition will approach this, because at the same time, teams probably will be able to stay in Israel and travel to go play. It's impossible. I don't see that happening. So nobody knows what's going to happen. So we just have to wait and pray.
And it's tough because there's really no precedence when you see this. You reach out for the people, you feel for them all. And I don't know how, like Braian said, they could even continue the season until these issues are resolved and, peace has occurred. So until then, it's going to be hard, not only to keep the teams going, but to keep the foreigners there. Oftentimes in contracts, you have what you call as a force majeure. And if basically an act of God occurs, a team is off the hook on paying a player. If something out of control happened, it could be something weather related that could cancel the season, or it could be something like an act of war. And usually those people are free and the player can exit, or the team can exit the deal, and no one is on the hook for the money owed besides the money that you played. And usually you get your letter of clearance immediately. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that for a lot of guys. I'm hoping, things can return back to normal for Israel, and, their people can be safe. But these are, some of the logistics that they could be, seeing ahead of time. I mean, obviously it's way different, than the Russia situation, with Ukraine and that conflict. Because that wasn't on Russian territory, but there was one Ukraine team that was, in Champions League, and they kind of just relocated. But with that amount of teams, it could be tough to relocate 8-9 teams. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Well, I hope you all gonna be fine in Israel, and the situation will solve out, and we'll reach this peace, so that we could talk only about basketball. And we'll also try to talk about basketball on this podcast, because we had an exciting season opener in the EuroLeague. But before we start, there's something important I'd like to share with Mr. Errick McCollum from our beloved coach Ergin Ataman. About a month ago, Coach Ataman participated in an interview with Sokrates Dergi, the Turkish media outlet, during which journalist Ugur Ozan Sulak asked him about you. And since it marks Errick's return to our podcast, I believe it's the perfect time to discuss this matter, because the journalist's question was like this, quote unquote, speaking of roster building in a podcast, Errick McCollum said about you that you're the best GM in Europe. What do you think about that? And Ataman's response was, I know Errick, we won the Euro Cup together in Galatasaray, but while playing for a team still having an active career, I don't know how good and how it makes sense doing a podcast and talking about other players, other teams. maybe it's the NBA style, but I don't say anything about his game because that's not my job and he should do the same. But anyway, so we just all want to hear your reactions.
I was complimentary. I give credit when it was due. At the end of the day, everyone has interest, outside of basketball. I think I do my job pretty well, to say the least. Through the course of my career, we have good history with the championship. He probably doesn't want the spotlight on him too much coming from me, maybe from, the other media members. It's different when you've coached a player, you had a coach-player relationship, and you probably don't want to, tread those type of waters. But I have nothing but, respect for Ataman and his career, what he's done. And I wish him the best in Panathinaikos. But I will continue to talk about basketball. These are facts and this is life. I will not shut up and dribble.
Yeah. We had a lot of conversations in the locker room about basketball with Errick. He always basketball minded, man. NBA, Europe, high school, everything. Everything.
And you gotta enjoy it. The game is a privilege. It's a blessing, for me to be able to play it, for me to watch it, to see it. I enjoy it. And anyone who's a fan of the game, whether you're a casual person at home, where you're someone who watches every game, I think sports wouldn't be sports if we didn't have a dialogue or if we didn't have that passion to speak about it. So, good luck to Panathinaikos. Wish him the best. And, hopefully they're not too distracted by my opinion.
Yeah. Having players in the podcast in the NBA is something, we all got used to. Some players, even by themselves, started their podcasts, like Draymond Green doing his own podcast straight after the finals game, or there's the podcast by Paul George, Patrick Beverley, still active and really great players. But at the same time, I'm not surprised that we're hearing some reactions and feedback from the EuroLeague coaches or players or whoever it might be, because it was not that popular for players. Not popular. I never heard any player in Europe doing a podcast and talking very open, especially as open as Errick does, because of his experience, because of his status, because of him basically having nothing to lose. So he's just open-minded, sharing his basketball knowledge and experience. And I remember probably this episode when I had Errick and Shane Larkin on the podcast, maybe it kind of, reached Ergin Ataman's ears, and maybe he was a little bit offended the way we described his style, because we didn't take any credit from his, history, from him being a winner. We didn't take any credit from him being a back-to-back EuroLeague champion, winning all those titles with Galatasaray and with all of our teams. We just kind of explained in detail that he has a different style, and there's nothing wrong about that. But maybe, he thought that you guys were a little bit more open,
And I was unaware until one of my old teammates told me what he said, and I just laughed. But oftentimes, I think really he has no problem with me talking because I don't play for his team. What I say, I'm sure it doesn't affect their performance, how they play, none of that. I think it puts a lot of fear in other EuroLeague coaches because they don't want players to maybe start a podcast, maybe join a podcast, and to be talking live about players and stuff. But me, I'm not in the EuroLeague, but even if I was, I would feel comfortable to talk about it. It's not like you're giving trade secrets. It's not like you're giving your game plan up. You're just saying what you see on the court, or what you see with players, what players you think are turning the corner. I don't really bash players. That's not what I do. If someone doesn't play well, they don't play well. But I'm not going to go in and be overly criticizing them. Like, I'll just be like, he didn't play at his level. He didn't play to his standard. But I'm not going to sit there and bash players because I know the game of basketball is full of ups and downs, and it's impossible to be perfect every night. I know what people put into the game. I respect the craft. But I think a lot of coaches are going to say or feel how Ergin feels because they don't want their players doing this. They don't want other players doing this. So if you discourage it, through me or through somebody else, you can maybe discourage other players from potentially doing it, especially a player who could be disgruntled. Think about it, it's a long season. There's 70 games. What if a player who has a podcast and they're upset with their minutes or their role, they're not playing? I mean, you've already seen players go to Twitter, talk about maybe touches, minutes throughout the course of a year, but imagine the power of a podcast. So, it probably puts fear in them. It's not traditional. And anytime you're doing something new, there's always going to be backlash. But the good news is, he heard it. It's reaching him. BasketNews, URBONUS podcast. That means we're on to something. Keep going.
And it's something probably like everything used to other in basketball, maybe in Europe, it seems like a distraction. So probably people don't want to see, coaches don't want to see you doing stuff that is not basketball related or other than basketball. Like you can.
But I always say I'd rather have a player who has a healthy habit talking and watching basketball. That means they're watching film. They're seeing all the teams. They're seeing what's happening, what's going on, how to guard certain players, how to adjust to different defenses. Because you're watching it. In order to speak about it, you have to see it. You could be doing other unhealthy habits. I could be in a club. I could be out partying. But me, I'm sitting here watching basketball with my family and then talking about it. I think if a coach knows the player's mature, it helps that I'm 35. They know that I'm going to come do my job no matter what. They're okay with it. But if I was 25, for sure, I think this would be a big problem and it would be bad for my career just because of the pressure from coaches. You can do it.
I'm here.
For you, they're like, it's an interview. It's an interview. For me, I'm constantly on a podcast and they could see it as a distraction. But, I know what I bring to the table. Luckily, I have a coach who's mature, who is a player. Ufuk knows, that I'm going to do my job always. And I think he likes that I talk about basketball. He's never said anything about it. So, so I know he doesn't care.
I mean, I may have my own personal interest in this matter, but I couldn't be happier to have such a brilliant basketball mind with huge European experience, providing invaluable insights on our podcast like I have Errick right now, because I really believe that why I think it's important and it's a blessing to have active players talking about basketball and especially EuroLeague basketball. I think that Errick's presence, for instance, has really contributed a lot to an increase in basketball knowledge among our viewers, among our listeners, among the basketball community. It's not just the fans, it's also about the players. And Errick is dropping some food for thought for everybody, GMs, how to deal with the players, for the players, how to deal in some situations, because they hear something, which is coming from his experience, and it might help them moving forward in their careers. And I mean, in my eyes, I feel that Errick often, let's say, articulates what many players are thinking when it comes to topics that hold great importance for players and their interests. And it's also important because I don't feel that we had a good platform for that, to have a platform where the player's voice would be heard and he would have this platform to express his ideas and views on the situation here in Europe. And we all know that we face a lot of, challenges out there, and we're far from having a perfect basketball environment. And, the content Errick brings is not only entertaining, but also a very high quality, sparking basketball discussions among both basketball fans and basketball people. So in doing so, combining all these things at the end, it just plays a crucial role in promoting our beloved game of basketball, which is my opinion, is really highly under-promoted in Europe. So I understand why Ataman might not feel very good about it, but it's just good for basketball promotion. I don't see any problem with people being open-minded.
Well, I mean, Errick have been playing the game for a long, long time, and for us, when I was in Koshaka last year, he was the ultimate vet. He would tell us everything about from how to talk to the GM, how to talk to the coach, how to talk to the referees in the games, all this type of stuff. And it's a long season. And I'm pretty sure a lot of young guys that are coming into Europe, and even me that I've been in Europe for 4 years, I can text Errick anytime and he will give me a great answer or give me points of view, like what he thinks another coach is going to think. And having somebody like that, and this is for all the young players that are listening to this that are starting in Europe, if you DM Errick and Instagram, he will give you an answer. He will try to help you because that's what he does. He tries to help as much as he can. He wants everybody to succeed and showed us last year. He was a great leader for us. He was somebody that always was there for you, even if you had a bad game, if you had a good game. Like everything that Errick tells you is something that he been through already. And like I say, it's a long season. We'll be here for 10 months, 70 games. To go ups and downs is going to be there. Last year I had a lot of up and downs because I had a lot of stuff going on with my family, a lot of stuff going on with the coaches, a lot of stuff going on. Personal stuff that affect my way of playing. But at the same time, I have a really good group of guys. And Errick, we used to go to restaurants and sit down and have conversations with him about my future, about what's going on with the coach, what's going on with everything. So having somebody like that in your team and having somebody that giving knowledge in the podcast like this, I know a lot of people in here watch. So I was one of those persons that I always sit down and watch and about what you guys have to say. So I know if you DM Errick, if you're in Europe and you're having some problems, you want to talk to somebody, I know this DNA, and nowadays nobody want to speak out and talk to somebody because they think like that's weird. But Errick been there. A lot of people been there. Just what makes you is just being able to talk to people and ask questions that will help you go through the journey. People that already been there, people know how to go through those situations, and you have a better career. So having Errick and my team last year was amazing. It was unbelievable. It was great. And I know if I call him and I text him, hey, E, this is happening, he's going to be like, hey, call me and we'll talk about it.
I appreciate you, brother.
So it's
always
great.
was a pleasure playing with you, too. Learned a lot from you, too.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's talk about EuroLeague. Panathinaikos against Olympiacos, the most anticipated opening game of the new EuroLeague season that lived up to the hype. Full crowd in the legendary Oaka, overtime. Kostas Lukas playing a great game, having an opportunity to beat his former team with a game winner, buzzer beater, and Olympiacos at the end winning it all. I have a question for you guys. Do you think this game is a sign that Olympiacos will face whole different competition in Athens this year, and should they be worried about their dominance and status in Greece?
I think Panathinaikos showed that they believe. Something as simple as having that gym full, that energy, electric. It looked like the old days, the energy that they brought, how the crowd was behind the team, how they supported them. Obviously, there's some disappointment in the loss, but Ergin has those guys fighting, have them believe him, have guys playing at a higher level. I think this is the first time we've seen Salukas in the main factor as a scorer, creator. Like he's the guy. He's playing that role. He's always been a good player, but I don't think there's many teams where he's been like number one option. And he performed well, hit clutch shots, played well. I've seen him even settle things where Vedoza's struggling throughout the game. And at halftime, I see Salukas' arm around him, walking with him, talking to him in his ear. Like that's leadership. He's really embraced it all. And you could tell he's the face of the team. Those little things show me that there's hope there. Obviously, Vedoza's a good player. He's going to have better nights. It was good to see Grigonis, returning to a higher level, playing good. He had some struggles last year. It seemed like he couldn't really find his footing. But, Ataman has an open system where, if you're a guard who can play pick and roll, who can score, you're going to thrive. And, it's good to see that. I think the potential's there. I'd like to see Hermangonis be a little bit more aggressive with his shot. I think they're going to need a third scorer there. You have Salukas. It looks like it's going to be Grigonis as number 2. They're going to need a consistent third scorer. If they get that, they'll be fine. I'd like to see Grant be a little bit more aggressive. I think he's a player that can really make some things happen and can alleviate the pressure off of Salukas. But, definitely, the pieces are there, the athleticism, the size, things are put in motion. And let's not take for granted they played against the runner-up. The EuroLeague. This is a team that's poised, that brought back the entire core, minus Vazinko, who's a big piece, but they added 2 guys who, if you combine them, they can do similar things. And Peter showed that. We talked about that this summer in the podcast, that you don't replace Vazinko. He's a great player, but you go get a Sigma who can pass it better, who can provide some of that rebounding and cutting, and then you add a Peters on their extension who can give you that shooting. So that's a team that has all the pieces. And who knew? Thomas Walkup, I knew he was a defender. We talked about it. They asked our opinion probably about a month and a half ago. I said that they shouldn't add any player, that I would run with the exact roster I have. No Kendrick Nunn, no other electric scorer. Play with the guys you have. And let's see what we got. I thought it would be Nigel Williams-Goss, and Isaiah Keenan picking up the scoring, which they did. Two great guys. But Thomas Walkup, 5 of 10 from 3. Not just a defender. I play defense. I score. I create. I rebound. If he can be a double-figure scorer for them, I can sleep peacefully knowing that Olympiacos is going to be right where they belong at the end of the year, because Nigel Williams-Goss will score. Isaiah Keenan will score. It's good to see him getting more minutes, being more involved in the offense. I feel like he should have got that run at the end of the game against Real Madrid, but that's for another day. But that's just a really good team. And, for Panathinaikos to have a whole new roster and you come together and you're playing against an experience, veteran-led, chemistry, great coach team, everything's already in place to compete like that was impressive. So Panathinaikos have hope. Be patient. It takes time. They're not going to turn the corner immediately, but this is a team that will be in a mix for a playoff position.
Yeah, I think the same thing like Errick said. I mean, Panathinaikos, they've been playing together for only 2 months. And you put in the box all these high IQ basketball players, one of the greatest coach in Europe right now, Ataman, they're going to be good. I mean, it takes time to build a team like this and for them to play together. Olympiacos have been playing together for 2-3 years. It shows that they know what each individual likes, and they added Nigel and Sigma, all these players that are high basketball players. So it's going to be a fun derbies in Greece.
Yeah.
Really fun.
I mean, I think it was a game with no losers, to be honest, because Olympiacos showed their character. They were down for a long stretch before the fourth quarter. They were missing key players inside the paint in Mustafa Fall. And I think that resulted into having a lot of problems protecting the boards, and especially in the first half. And then they just put Nikola Miltinov to play the entire second half, including the extra time. And of course, Ignas Brazdeikis hasn't played a single game for Olympiacos yet, but he's anticipated to play an important role. So they were missing 2 important players. They still have to adjust to play with the teammates and to play without the MVP of the last season and their best scorer, the guy who was deciding all games. So they have to find new guys who will replace those key players. So a lot of adjustments for Olympiacos. And in this tough environment, they managed, to be united and to win this very tough game against a very good group of Panathinaikos, who, first of all, they also showed the character by bouncing back after the Greek Super Cup loss. They lost the Greek Super Cup by 24 points. They were really horrible in offense, scoring like 11 or 13 points in the first half of that game. I mean, it was a very big hit for the whole Panathinaikos team, having those hopes for the upcoming season. So they really showed character. They showed that they're not going to lose their fighting spirit. They're not going to lose their minds, and they can fight even this great Olympiacos team that was arguably the best team of the EuroLeague last season, and they really pushed them to the ropes. So a lot of great individual performances on Panathinaikos side that you mentioned. Of course, Kostas Lukas, he had his word. He showed up, especially in the first half. But Errick mentioned Marius Grigonis, and I just want to extend on his case because he was the guy. He is the only foreigner from the last year's team, which finished 17th. And at some point of the offseason, I mean, he had a contract for this year as well. And it was a guaranteed contract. But at some point of the offseason, he was told to find a new team. And something has happened, maybe not in Panathinaikos way or the way they wanted, and they decided to try him. The guy went to the training camp. The guy went to Athens like weeks before the training camp started in Athens, showing his determination to adjust, to adapt, to change, and to fit Ataman's game. And now we're watching this amazing game against Olympiacos. I mean, what I loved in Grigonis' game before as a Lithuanian, that he was always more or less all-around player. He was good in offense, but at the same time, he was really trying in defense in his old days. And what I saw against Olympiacos, I think that when he became a good scorer in EuroLeague, especially in this year with Zalgiris, I think that he kind of understood that it's not necessary to give your all in defense because they're going to pay me in Moscow for what I do in offense. and it became his habit. But what I saw against Olympiacos from the opening, from the tip-off, it was the best defense since, I don't know, since he played in the second Spanish division, really. It felt like it was the game for his contract. I mean, if he does well, he will get an extension. It was like a 10-day contract game. So I was really proud to see him, but he was just one of the many individuals that were, showed up in this game. So what could you also mention as those standout players that you saw in this game?
Yeah, for me, Ergin was that guy. I liked what I saw from him. He was aggressive. Zalgiris was great. Too many turnovers, 7, but it's expected when you're taking a big workload and you're getting a defensive player that Thomas Walkup's caliber on you. It's not easy to protect the ball. Lasort was good. Double brought energy. You know what you're gonna get from him. You're gonna get effort. You're gonna get energy. You're gonna get fight. You're gonna get desire. He had 10 and 10. And those are some guys that I think really perform well. I think Verdoza's gonna have to provide a little scoring punch, or Ataman's gonna have to go to Kyle Guy more. But they need that third punch. I feel like so much pressure was on Zalgiris to create things that it wasn't coming from anyone else. And Ergin was very good at finding his shots, putting himself in situations, but Zalgiris can't be the only guy creating easy opportunities. And I think Grant is a guy that's more than capable and, can provide that. On the Olympiacos side, I think Keenan was excellent. Thomas Walkup, Milutinov. I mean, like when you just watch 5 or 6 guys in double figures, it's spread around. So many guys doing it, and it's hard to combat that. Nigel Williams-Goss came in and just really sealed the game in overtime. And, he's a guy who's capable of that. We see his clutchness, in the playoff series with Madrid, some of the big shots he hit last year, on the way to that final. Just seeing that, Alec Peters, I mean, the list just goes on. And I think that's the difference in the game. Olympiacos had like 6 guys, and they just took their turn. My turn. All right, now it's your turn. All right, now it's your turn. Where throughout the night for Panathinaikos, there's really only 2 guys. And, one of those guys is 34 years old. And it's not easy to do that over the course of a EuroLeague season. Okay, you can do that on some nights, but if you have to carry the workload every night for 30 plus games and then do it in the Greek league, it takes its toll. So, if one more guy can step up, lower that usage rate a little bit, it will keep Zalgiris strong throughout the course of the season and in the fourth quarters of those overtimes of those games. But he was excellent. He played, as that guy, and, they can be pleased with the contract in the first game.
Wow, did I hear a 35-year-old guy going at another 34-year-old guy?
Oh, he was great.
Was that correct?
No, I'm saying he was great. He was excellent. But in order to have that longevity, it helps. Like, for instance, when Braian came to the team, it was such a relief to have another guy who could bring the ball up to court, who could run the pick and roll. Sometimes I can go to the corner, I can relax, I could take a play of rest by still staying on the court. Like, it just makes the game easier. Sometimes he might create me a spot up 3. It's exhausting when you're getting hedged or doubled or trapped or denied and bumped and hit, and you're running to cut to get the ball. Then you finally get the ball. Then you have to beat 2 guys and create for someone constantly. It wears and tears on you. And, you don't feel it until later in the game when your shot's a little short. When you miss a free throw you normally make, when you get a catch and shoot opportunity, you don't go, when you don't close out as long. So, like, I'm just thinking long term. He could do it now easy in the early season, but over the course, come May, April, March, you're going to want that extra help, that extra push. And I think guys like Grant, Verdoza are more than capable of providing that firepower. And even a Kyle Guy, we see him have some explosive games last year at Juventud in the Euro Cup.
Yeah, I think that it will start from Luka Vildoza. He didn't have his, let's say, best debut in EuroLeague, Olympiacos and Panathinaikos derbies. 5 points, 3 turnovers. That's not the help that Kostas Lukas need. And the second option will come from the market, I guess, because I heard that Panathinaikos on the market for a new player. It should be an important player, at least offensively, to help to get some load from Kostas Lukas. So probably they're gonna figure it out. Yeah,
that was fast.
I mean, for me, I think for the Olympiacos side, I think Nigel. I'm not biased because it's my guy, but Nigel came in the great minutes. I mean, I know they have Walkup, great point guard, but they're having Nigel come in and help him and now he's focusing a little bit more on defense, and then coming and hitting 5 threes is something that shows that he worked on the shot the whole summer. And adding Milutinov, I think Olympiacos got a little. I know they lost Usenkov and Lucas, but bringing these 3 players that they brought, they look very, very good. They look good. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun EuroLeague. I feel like it's a lot of teams out there that got really good in the summer, and now it's gonna be a different year.
I'm super happy for Alec Peters because there was this big question who's going to replace Sasha Vezenkov. And I remember I was reading some Greek media articles last year, and the media members were complaining a lot about Alec Peters not showing up in big games. It's really hard to get a bigger game than that in October when facing Panathinaikos at the debut night of the EuroLeague season. And he scored 17 points. I think that it was his career high in Olympiacos in the EuroLeague since 2021. He also played probably the highest number of minutes that he wore Olympiacos jersey. Yes, 37. So he had to beat his career high in Olympiacos as well. And he was really good at shooting the basket, being very aggressive from the beginning. And I didn't miss Sasha Vezenkov that night, really. Alec Peters did a lot of job, to show that he might be ready. At least it was a statement game for him. So that's important contribution for Olympiacos.
And you know what's crazy? Alec Peters always been a pure shooter, like just beautiful stroke on the jump shot, laces, everything. Like whenever he shoots, you're like surprised if he's open, if he misses. But what surprised me was the 10 rebounds, the 4 assists, and the 4 steals. Like he's showing that, okay, I know who left here. I know the shoes were big, they were heavy, but I'm going to put him on the best I can. And last night, he looked like Cinderella. He fit the shoe really well. And he did everything, like Sasha would do. And, I'm sure he picked up some things along the way, but it's a difference when you're the main foreman. I think it's unfair for some of those media members to say that he didn't show up in big games. Well, where was he going to really show up? Sasha played 32, 33 minutes a game. So you're talking about a guy, maybe he's getting 12 minutes. How can you find a rhythm? How can you get in a flow, especially as a shooter, as a guy who relies on 3-point shots? Now I think with him getting a bigger role, obviously he won't play as many minutes as tonight because of the overtime game. But I think you'll see him in that 25-plus minute range, depending on how he performs. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Sigma's in that 15 to 18, and he's in that 22 to 25 minute, and that's enough time to find a rhythm, to get a lather, and to find opportunities.
Yeah, and just one more note from Panathinaikos side. Errick mentioned that he lacked a little bit more aggressiveness in Juancho Hernangomez's game, but at the same time, I was so impressed by his hustle plays. Really, that was a remarkable outing from him, especially in the first half. I counted that he had 3 offensive rebounds that resulted in 9 second chance points for Panathinaikos. And these offensive rebounds were really hard. And he was, he was stealing the ball. I think he made 2 steals, 1 block. He was always trying to, make life harder for Olympiacos. And they were really very aware that they cannot they cannot throw some lazy passes or something, because Juancho is always looking to steal that ball. A lot of deflections, a lot of situations where he started the transition for Panathinaikos. So I believe that, at this point of the season or during the season with some additions, Panathinaikos will be stacked with talent. And to have such important players, like hustle players like Juancho Hernangomez, who is not demanding the ball, or he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands to be efficient at elite level, is super important. And Panathinaikos find a really interesting name in the EuroLeague.
I feel like Panathinaikos have a really, really full hands of guys that some of them have to sacrifice sometimes and find a way to be effective. And Juancho did last game. You have at the big man Azor, really great energy guy that can give you 20 and 10 any given night. And then you got players like Lucas, Grant, Mendoza, experienced players that can help you. I think they're gonna be really good. They're gonna be up there in the.
Yeah. enough of Greek derbies. Probably the next big derby that we're gonna have will be at the end of the October. Partizan against Crvena Zvezda. Partizan will be the home team, I guess. It will be October 26th or something. So we will definitely cover that game. But two Turkish teams also had big games in the opening round of the EuroLeague. And one of them will play Karşıyaka on Monday. Fenerbahce, they started the season with a narrow victory against Milan. And we talked a little bit with Braian before the podcast, and he said that he watched the ending of the game. So what would be your tip to Errick and your ex-teammates, friends in Karşıyaka, how to beat that Fenerbahce team that started off with the win against Milan?
I mean, I think UFO do a really good job of preparing the guys over there for those type of games, and it's hard because when you play against Fenerbahce, they're a great team. They have one of the best coaches in Europe, but when you come to Karşıyaka, playing in that arena is really hard. And Karşıyaka have shown that every year they have a really good team, and having Errick, having Hillier, having guys that have been in EuroLeague, guys that have played this type of games before, and then having a coach like Ufuk that is a great basketball coach. I mean, you just gotta be there to see when you prepare for this type of games, they're gonna be ready. And I don't think I gotta give them any tips. They know what to do. They just gotta contain as much as they can in the inside, and they'll be alright. I mean, Errick knows. Errick is prepared. He likes to play this type of games. You know, this is why they give him his money so many years is for this type of game. So they will be ready. I'll be watching it. Don't worry.
Good. We got
watching.
a tough test. They look really good. A lot of size, good rebounding, good interior. They play two bigs together a lot of times. Mali and Sertac. You know, that they can stretch the floor, and then Papa Giannis showing he can stretch the floor too. You know, I seen in the Turkish league he hitting some threes, 3 for 3 in the yearly. So, you know, that makes it tough. A lot of times when the bigs are, you know, 7 foot and 6'10" ish, usually there's no spacing. But the way these big guys can shoot the ball, like they can beat you up on the glass, they can hurt you by spacing the court. You know, it's gonna be really tough. You know, Tudis is an excellent coach. He always has a good game plan. You know, I think we just got to be physical, match the energy, and try to find a way to keep that rebound advantage close. Because if we can't, it can be hard for us. But if we can show some fight, some grit, box out, you know, I think you know, it could be an interesting game.
It's gonna be interesting who's the 5 foreigners.
That's always the hardest. That's the hardest decision for the coaches, for the team, because you can play like 2 or 3 different styles depending on what foreigners they choose. They have like 10 foreigners, so like you kind of just have to focus. Yeah, we gotta just focus on what we do, and you know, kind of adapt on the fly depending on who they play with our defensive schemes and stuff.
Yeah, and now
because I don't know what's going on with the Scotty situation about the foreigners.
It's a game changer probably for teams like Karşıyaka. It's like a victory. You hit to have Scotty and Shane Larkin also treated as foreigners because of their punishment that they had for missing the Turkish national team appearance.
Yeah, because it's essentially playing 6 foreigners, and then you're talking about teams with the biggest budgets in Turkey. They already have really high quality foreigners already. They have high quality Turkish players. You know, so it's never easy when you're playing them. And then, you know, you get an extra foreigner, it's tough. So, you know, they're still an excellent team. They're still going to be a force. But it does narrow the gap some when you're playing against 5 foreigners instead of 6.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you too much about Fenerbahce because you don't want to, you know, motivate them for Monday's game.
They good. We need all the help we can get. Trust me. They look good.
I think yeah, they look good, and Karşıyaka is motivated. I think Errick is motivated. They're gonna get these guys motivated for this type of games. I mean, that's a job entry for many of the guys that are there. You know, it's a lot of guys that are trying to look for a bigger job. Even though Karşıyaka is a big team in Turkey and Europe, but playing these games, the powerhouse of EuroLeague is always motivation. Like for me, when I was in Karşıyaka playing them type of teams, playing Efes, playing Gala, it was a little extra motivation out there. So
Just one individual I wanted to talk about more. Did you try to get into Nick Calathes' shoes, and how would you act in that situation? Because the entire summer you would have been hearing rumors that you're kind of out. Then I think that somebody from Fenerbahce officially stated that they were looking to move Nick Calathes. But the whole situation, at the end of the day, he's still with the team. He's playing in the EuroLeague. Not sure if he's going to play in the Turkish league, but he's still there. Can it be a distraction for a player, for the entire team, for the coaching staff, for everybody inside the organization? Or it's just, the way business goes, and you still have to be the best, best version of yourself on a daily basis?
It's extremely tough to be professional in a situation when a team isn't, maybe showing you that same courtesy, because I could just think if the shoe was on the other foot, imagine a player saying, I don't want to play here. I'm going to leave. I need to find another team. I can't imagine how that would go over with GMs or with teammates or with the fan base. Like, everybody would feel disrespected. So, like, as a player, you're forced to chalk that up and swallow your pride and to hear and read articles about how a team is trying to discard you. Like, it's one thing for me. If you want to get rid of me, that's fine. But I would respect it if you kept it in house. Maybe you shop me to different teams, whatever the case may be. But I understand how Nick feels just because, he's a year younger than me. You're coming out, you have a 2-year guaranteed deal. I signed this contract. Nick is a guy who's one of the best point guards to play in the EuroLeague in a while. He's a guy that can create, that can defend, that can see all the passes. So it's almost like a disrespectful to him, in his career, like the player he is, because you could easily keep that private and you could still be trying to get rid of him, still shopping it. But I think, there's just a certain professionalism that you should keep to keep the team intact. Also to keep the player's head right, because who knows, maybe things fall through and then he's back on the team and he has to play. And, I think he's handled it as an ultimate professional. He's out there fighting. He's playing hard. He only played 8 minutes against Milan, but he was out there defending, creating, passing to his team, still doing what he does. And, for a lot of teams, when they want to get rid of a player, if a guy has a guaranteed contract, it's impossible to ask a guy to leave a large salary just because. Can you take less money? No. No, I'm not. I'm happy here. I assume he likes Istanbul. I had a 2-year contract too. If Karşıyaka would have asked me that, I would have said no. And if you don't want me, that's fine. I'll be here. I'm on the date and I'll sit and I'll watch the team. And so it's different. When you're younger, maybe you're not going to do that. But when you're 34 or 35 years old, you're like, all right, that's fine. If you don't want me, I love to play. I want to play. I want to be here. But it's going to be hard for him to find a contract that late in the summer, close to that amount of money. And a place, think about it, he has kids, he has a wife, maybe they have a school that they're already going to, they have a routine, everything's set up, he already has an apartment, you played the lease early, all these factors that people don't think about. And no, I'm not going nowhere. So, I'm glad that Fenner and Nick was able to move forward, and I'm glad that they were able to, maybe find a common ground, and, now he's back out there playing. So, I wish him the best. He's a really good guy. I respect his game, really good player. And, I hope they can continue to work together and have success. And I hope teams continue to honor 2-year contracts, because this is outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the situation is he's a very competitive player. So one of the best point guards in the EuroLeague, like Errick said. And the way he played when he was used for his minutes, he was unbelievable. And he shows that he's a very professional guy. Maybe the scheme of the teams don't let him play much, but he was doing what he's supposed to do, and that's admirable for somebody that.
What were your impressions about the new look Milan with Nikola Mirotic on the lineup, who had a really good game, 27 points, I think 38 or something, player performance index rating. So it was a huge game by him.
I mean, for Mirotic, he's probably the best 4-man in the league. I mean, you can put it in any team. He's going to be very, very efficient with his touches. He's a player that makes sure everybody know he's in the game. His presence, his shooting ability, his ability to find the mismatches and be effective is unbelievable. And coming to a new team, where he was able to fit right in is really impressive.
Yeah, Mirotic is just a guy that I think you could plug him anywhere in Europe, and he gonna find a way to get a bucket. He's gonna rebound. What I was impressed with Mirotic, he's always been an elite scorer, leading the post, phenomenal shooter. Offensively, there's been nothing. I was impressed with his defense. A couple blocks, rotations. I seen him pressing the ball full court, turning, sitting in the stands. I was like, okay. Like, you could tell that, he really wants it. He wants to have that success and wants to maintain his status as the best four-man in Europe. But, I was impressed just with some of the things he did, on the other side of the ball. As for the rest of the players in Milan, Voigtman played really well. I don't know if there was a little motivation playing against Itutis. They had that history at Cheska. You always want to kind of perform well against your old coach, and he just did things inside out. I love the two-man game. Voigtman and Mirotic had really good chemistry. You're talking about 2 7-footers who can just shoot the ball, who could post up, who finish high, and they both were on the glass rebounding well. If they could continue to do that, they're going to have some success. It's not an easy place to play in Fener against such a strong team who basically returned the same roster. My problem with Milan is, the guard play. They need some consistency. These were issues that plagued them last year. Are you going to get a guy who's going to give you consistent production, not only scoring, but in creation, making decisions, finding the mismatch, putting people in the right spot. Obviously Shields had a rough night shooting, but he's a guy that I can depend on if I'm a coach. And, I think he's maybe the focal point, at the guard spots, why Mirotic is that focal point on the inside and the perimeter. But they need one more guy to step up from that guard rotation. And I think when Billy Barron comes back, you'll see more scoring spark there. Yeah.
I think Hall, when Hall come back too,
he's a good player
too, because he's a guy that can put pressure on the defense offensively, and can help on defense too. So it's gonna be very interesting. It's like I said before, it's gonna be a really good teams in Europe. I feel like every team was built for different
in order for them to reach
this
their potential, I'm gonna need Kevin Pangos to be Zalgiris Kevin Pangos, Zenit Kevin Pangos. We've seen it. He has the talent. He played in those years as an all EuroLeague type of player. That's what got him to Barcelona. But since then, he hasn't been able to find his footing, and we need him to get back to that level if we want to see Milan kind of reach the top. I think he's a really good player. I think he can shoot. I think he can play pick and roll. I've seen him, under Saris, in those Zalgiris days, really kind of commanding that team, pushing him to a Final Four. I've seen him under Javi Pascal's system at Zenit, really powering them to the playoffs, making Zenit, no longer a dark horse, but a team to be reckoned with. So, I'm not saying he's going to probably have the ball that much just because you got Shields, you got Mirotic, but he needs to show some flashes of that type of player. And if he can, this is the team that could be really good with that size. They're going to beat people up on the glass, on the rebound. It's going to be bad if they can get some consistency at that guard play.
Yeah. And first of all, I just want them to stay healthy. I mean, if they're healthy, they're Final Four material. And there were a lot of hopes before the season. And just before the opener of the season, we see Billy Barron out for 6 weeks, Maudolo out for 4 weeks, Devon Hall suddenly misses the game as well, and suddenly Stefano Tonuto has to step up in big minutes, to cover that hole that they had in the backcourt, and Kevin Pangos is having a bad game. So it's just really tough to be a winning team facing so many injuries. And I mean, I was impressed about Milan's lineup in the decisive minutes of the game. They threw the lineup with Johannes Voigtman, who's 2 meters and 11 centimeters, Nicola Melli 2 and 5, Nikola Mirotic 2 and 8, Shawan Shields 2 and 1, and Kevin Pangos. Okay, he's undersized, but still having these 4 guys on this lineup. I'm not a fan of big lineups. I'm not a big fan of Nikola Mirotic, but they caused problems to Fenerbahce. And I think that it was a very important reason why they actually managed to send the game to overtime. In the overtime, they kind of lacked of better scoring, better scorers to create opportunities for their players, but they're crashing boards, getting extra opportunities to score. And as Errick mentioned, with Nikola Mirotic giving so much effort in defense, they didn't look bad on the switch against Wilbekin or Tyler Dorsey. So I was impressed the way it worked, and it might be an important, weapon going forward into the season.
Yeah, gonna be fun to watch. They could be a really good team when they're healthy. They get things going. I think they're somebody who's going to take a big leap come January. You're going to see them really turn that corner. Maybe even before that, if they can get those guys back sooner.
And
Yes, they do.
and Fenerbahce, I memean, if they won't step up their end game, they're gonna have problems against Karşıyaka. Come on, I mean, Wilbekin had a blackout in the end of regulation, trying to hunt the foul with 7 seconds left, and the score was tied, I think, and referee didn't whistle that foul, and Milan was in a great situation to close the game. And in the overtime, they were up by 3, and they couldn't make a foul. And Nikola Mirotic, by his standards, he had a nice look, to send the game to another overtime. So they definitely have to step up with their end game. But there's another Turkish team that I wanted to ask you, Errick, in particular. I didn't watch that game. Braian also didn't watch that game against Barca. But the thing is that before the season, there were many doubters about Barcelona, me included. And they won in a quite solid way against FS at home. Do you think people might be sleeping on Barca, or there was something not clicking for FS that night?
I admit I was asleep at the wheel. Barcelona looked really good. I mean, they always have that size, right? They have some athleticism, but they were playing free, relaxed, at a different tempo than we've seen. We're used to them the last few years being in that half-court offense, running those sets. They were playing like the Spanish way, up and down, moving the ball side to side. It looked like those guys weren't looking over their shoulder. They looked relieved. And, you got a great performance from Jan Vesely. Looked like Jan Vesely from Fener, showing that little burst, athleticism on the glass, just doing those things he does. 4 offensive rebounds, 16 points, 8 of 11 from the field. He's a guy that, shows he can control the game in the paint defensively and offensively. He's really good on the switches. I think another underrated signing for them that probably goes, under the radar and where people didn't really mention it was the energy that Bruzella brought. He was on the court making some great passes, giving them a different type of spark, a different energy. Sometimes when you sign a young guy who's new to the EuroLeague, their excitement, their energy, their effort, it can be contagious. I like what he brought to the court. And then Willy Hermagonis is just an animal. I mean, I already knew what it was. I mean, he played for the Pelicans. I watched him many times. As I watch my brother play, and I love what he brings. He can shoot the basketball. He's great in the short roll. He has patience, poise, strength on the block. I mean, he's just an animal. And he's a guy that you can run your offense through and be very successful. So the more touches he get, the better they look. I mean, he was dominant. 18 points, 7 to 8. And the one shot he missed, it was like that could have went in too. Like it was unforced. It was effortless. He just kind of did it all. And then Labriola was always good too. Just his energy coming off the pick and roll, making those passes, the way he can shoot the ball in the 3. He's always a threat. He's always in attack mode, probing. I liked what he did too. 8 assists, 5 boards, 13 points. Just, he's kind of that guy that makes things go. He's their engine. And I think when he's unleashed and he's playing an up-tempo offense, you're going to see him play even better, because that's where he thrives. That's where he can be even more successful. Not saying that he can't play in a half court, but he's better when you let him free, when you take those handcuffs off. And I think that's what you're going to see him continue to grow. And then another pleasant surprise was Jabari Parker. He was kind of quiet, throughout the course of the game, but where you see him at is his defense on Will Clyburn. A lot of guys struggle with Will because he's fast, he's quick for those taller guys at the 4 position. They're not quick enough to guard him. And then if you put a 3 on him, they're a little bit too small. They don't have that height, don't have the strength to guard him. Well, with Jabari, he was a guy that was able to stay in front of him and kind of make things tough. Granted, Will had an off night, but, he played really good defense on him. And in the fourth quarter, he came alive, finding ways to be successful without the ball. That shows me his adaptation to Europe. A lot of guys come from the league. They need the ball. You could see him being in the dunker spot, rotating from the left to right, now cutting after the short roll, doing different things to find the ball. And that shows me that's a guy who's bought in. That's a guy who just wants to win, who's doing certain things. And now when you're able to cut and move without the ball, once you get the ball, once he gets his ISOs, once he gets those type of touches, the game's going to flow for him easier because he's able to score in a multitude of ways. So I was just really impressed with what they bought, how they played, how they moved the ball, and how quickly they connected with the new coach, a new system, a new offense. They're a team that, really surprised me. There was two teams that surprised the hell out of me, and because I knew Barcelona was good, but I didn't think they'd be this good this early with so many changes. But they surprised me, and Red Star. Man, I watched that Red Star game too. Whew, those boys look good. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and for Barcelona, at the end of the day, it's Barcelona. This is one of the best things in Europe, and having Willie coming in, the presence that he brought into the game, 16 minutes, 18 points, is unbelievable. He's a guy that always going to have a huge presence in the paint, and a guy that you got to send a double team on, he's going to be scorer. He's going to score every time you send somebody to help big men, because you know a lot of big men out there that can defend him. And then having La Provitola, like Errick said, being able to run the team, making decisions, playing freedom that he was playing. It was good to see that type of basketball. And then Jabari Parker, when he get adjusted to the game over here, the guy was the number 2 pick in the draft, and he was an unbelievable player. Now that he comes to Europe, it's going to take him a little time, but when he's ready, he's going to be really, really proud for everybody. Because he can play the 4, he play the 3, he can shoot the ball really well. So we will see. It's going to be interesting to watch them. They have a really, really big chance to go to the Final Four again.
Yeah, you just mentioned Red Star. You had a short glimpse of that game as well. What would be your, in general, what would be your round 1 standouts that impressed you the most? And of course, starting from Red Star, hell of the game. And just one more time, I was happy to see Shabazz Napier, delivering at that level. For me, that's the player that Milan missed so much in that game against Fenerbahce. If they kept him, they would have been a different team. So, and for the Red Star, for the profile, and for the for the status team like Red Star, it's just a blessing to have Shabazz Napier on their roster. He can take them to places, really, with his skill, with his scoring abilities.
Having that guard play that Red Star have with Jago coming, a young kid that have a lot of energy, and having a veteran with Theodosius, and then having Napier, and then having the Manya Nedovic up there is unbelievable. They hit 18 threes. Was a clash of shooting. And then when you have those type of players over there, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a team that's going to be surprising a lot of teams out there. So, and playing in that environment too. You can see it's kind of fun to play out there.
For me, 2 words: Shabazz Napier. My goodness, I think it's tough for me because I like Lorenzo Brown a lot, but top 2 point guards right now in Europe is Shabazz and Lorenzo. I don't know, pick and choose what you want, but the way he controls the game, his pace, his movements, how he plays pick and roll. How he always finds the solution in the isolation and the pick and roll, and his mid-range jumper. He can shoot the 3, his finisher. He just always looks like he knows what he wants, where he's going to attack, and you can't speed him up. And he defends. He pressures the ball. He's a guy that, played many years in the NBA and just shows that, his adaptation to Europe was seamless. And, I think that Milan experience, allow people to get a glimpse of who he is. I kind of already knew he played in Portland. When my brother was there with Dame Lillard, and anytime he got on the court, he made things happen. I was always impressed with him, and just to see him do that, as a main guard with the ball in his hands, I'm not surprised. He's a guy that is going to have a great season, is going to do that all year, and he's going to make them go. And then you put in a guy like Milos. He's a vet. As Braian said, he's a guy that's proven. He's been there. He's done that. He makes magic happen. He can pull anything out of the hat. Just the way they shoot the ball. I'm sorry to my Lithuanian people. I might mess up the name, but Giedraitis. Oh,
Ronas
Boy.
Giedraitis. Yeah.
Oh,
The pronunciation was
boy,
nice.
the flamethrower,
That's
man.
right.
Like he was shooting the ball well, he was moving, like how they played well off of each other. Just so many options. He was excellent. He didn't force anything. He let the game come to him, found his shots, rebounded. I think the thing about it is not only do they have so many shooters, so many scoring options, so much control at the pick and roll spot, size on the wings, with him and Hanga, but how they controlled the board. 17 offensive rebounds when you shoot 50% from three. Like, it's not like you're out there missing a lot of shots. Like, if they can continue to control the rebounds and kill the glass like that and shoot the ball like that, obviously they're not going to make 17 threes every night. But the shots they were getting, they weren't like in crazy or incredible difficult shots. These are shots that it seems like they can get within the flow of their offense with Napier creating or finding openings for them. So, I'm glad that, we're able to see such a pure classic basketball game and to see the skill and the talent level. But Red Star is a force, and I'm gonna say it now. They're a playoff team. Not a play-in. They'll be in the playoffs.
Wow, that's a bold statement, but I agree with you. The way they play, they just, Asvel didn't have any chance. Of course, I want to see them facing a bigger challenge. I want to see them playing away, a tough game in a tough away situation. And I still have some, let's say, doubts looking long term if all the guards gonna be happy with the minutes they're gonna get. I mean, I'm not questioning the talent. I'm not questioning the experience and skill. I'm questioning if they're gonna sacrifice their minutes for the team's will and for the final results. But their potential is huge. And you mentioned guys like Giedraitis. I mean, he's a typical Duško Ivanović player. He made his career in Baskonia. He gonna play for 30 minutes per game. He gonna run the transition. He gonna shoot those crazy threes. He gonna bring energy. He going to try to crash boards, and he will bring that energy to facilitate and to help those guards and bigs. Talking about bigs, I was impressed by young man Marko Simonovic. He didn't get a lot of opportunities in Chicago Bulls, but the way he stretched the floor from the tip-off, I was really impressed, and it really opened the hands for the entire team, the way he played as well. And Shabazz is one of the kind, but as soon as you mention your top 2 point guards, I'm like, you're in trouble, Errick. You're going to have a text message from Mike James, that's for sure. Some other point guards might step in, texting you or something, so you're getting yourself in trouble. Because you're leaving some big names behind,
To me, Mike is a combo. I love Mike. I think he's an excellent scorer. He can do stuff. But to me, Lorenzo and Shabazz is more like classic point guard. And Mike is a combo for me. But, if you're talking about one of the best players, for sure, Mike's always in that mix. But, bro, just as classic point guards, I got to go Shabazz and Lorenzo Brown for sure.
That excuse is not going to help you. I could tell you that. Yeah. Speaking of point guards, I have my first, let's say, Lithuanian question. Keenan Evans scored 25 points, including some crucial 3-pointers in a tough away victory against Virtus. They were down by 15 in 2 occasions, and that's the first EuroLeague comeback ever, being down by 15 2 times in the same game. So he scored 25, and let's not forget that he had Achilles injury 9 months ago, and that's his first EuroLeague game after that injury. So is it like normal to get back, to return after those kind of injuries and to play at that level? And just in general, what do you think about his future in the EuroLeague? Do you see him as the next elite guard? What he's still missing maybe to be the go-to option on an elite Final Four team?
I mean, it's impressive to see somebody having that type of injury coming back. Your first real tough game in the EuroLeague atmosphere is impressive to see him have 25 points. I mean, the chance that he was taking, he looks very comfortable running out in the court, running the team. And like before he got injured, he was showing that he was one of the elite guards. He was going up and the rankings of the point guards, of the top point guards, like Errick said. And to have him back and watching. I mean, for me, I'm not playing in EuroLeague, not yet. But watching, I like to watch basketball. I love watching basketball, and you see a story like this, somebody that 9 months ago was out for so long and coming back and doing this, it shows that he was patient with his rehab and his recovery process, and he was always in the gym after he was recovered. And I just my praise for him that he's back and we can watch some good basketball play.
Yeah, just seeing that performance, it just shows how professional he is, how he take care of his body. Definitely happy to see that. Anytime a guy goes through a major injury, you never know how they're going to return. But he's a guy who's skilled, and guys who have good skills, who can shoot, who can dribble, who can play pick and roll, who can do different things, I worry less about them when they have, let's say, knee or Achilles type of injuries. But a guy who relies on athleticism or explosiveness and their burst, those are the type of guys that really make me nervous when they get hurt. So it's great to see. But another thing I have to applaud is Zalgiris. This is a guy who, when he gets hurt, they didn't throw him away. They didn't forget about him. They didn't try to get out of the contract. They didn't try to cut it. They stayed with him. They helped him immediately, do the proper therapy, get the surgery. They were with him every step of the way. And that's what you like to see, that professionalism, from clubs. So shout out to Zalgiris, for taking care of guys. And, those are things that don't go unnoticed. When you're a player, you see how you treat players. And, they did everything right. And if anyone deserves this performance, it's Zalgiris, for seeing, it through, for taking care of their player. This is the reward you get when you treat players appropriately and when you have their back. They're going to go out there, they're going to fight, they're going to battle for you, they're going to do everything. And, I'm just happy to see, a player succeed and a team, have that success that does things the right way. So shout out to my Lithuanians out there.
It's good you mentioned Zalgiris and the way treated Keenan Evans, because when he got injured, it was opening minutes of the game against Fenerbahce on January 5th. I think that he left the court soon, then he left the gym, and I think that in the next hour or two, he was on a surgery table already, and he was treated and operated by, well, I think that he's one of the best knee experts in the entire Europe, Rimtautas Gudas. He's really good at it, and he's top doctor here in Lithuania. And I think that it also, the way they reacted, how fast they reacted in this situation under these circumstances, I really think that long term it helped him to have a successful recovery. But of course, a lot of goes on Keenan Evans. I heard that he was really disciplined during the recovery process. He was really serious. He treated his body really well, and probably, a lot of work was behind this great outing against Virtus Bologna that night. So kudos to both to Žalgiris, Rimtautas Gudas, and also Keenan Evans by himself.
Yeah, that doctor, his price just went up. Every time Keenan Evans plays good, hey, we need him. Hey, you keep doing what you do, Doc. You're changing the game.
Just one last question I have for you guys. In my eyes, Valencia pulled off what might be an upset of round one by beating Monaco, a team that many thought would make it to the Final Four again or even contend for the title. And I'm not just talking about Valencia in particular, but what would be your pick for a team that could surprise everyone this season? Who do you think are the dark horses of the EuroLeague season?
Red Star. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I might get a couple of DMs from my fans for Partizan, but I think Red Star is a team that looks really, really good. It's a team that nobody really talk about very much, but I got 3 picks. I got Red Star, I got Valencia. Valencia is another guy that nobody really talks much, but Chris Jones is running that team very well. He's showing that he's capable of being one of the elite guards out there in Europe. And when you bring Davis into a team that plays the way they play, it's really good to see them. And one that nobody talks about, but you always have to be knowing that Coach Lasso always going to have those guys ready to play. I think Bayern with Francisco, he's a young guy that's trying to improve himself, trying to come up. Bolmaro is another guy. They got Carson Edwards, didn't really have a chance to play last year, but he's a guy that we know that can score. And then they bring a player like Serge Ibaka, a veteran guy, a guy that can and can show the way to those young guys and show them and have a good career. So I think those three teams is going to be teams that it's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, Red Star and Milan. Like, I liked what Milan brought. That size, I think that's hard to combat. Those guys who can really shoot it, they have interior presence. They're always going to be able to find mismatches. And as the season progresses, they'll be better and better. Like, this is game one. You know, imagine when that chemistry is built, when the system is fully understood, when all players are integrated. You know, I think Billy Barron's really going to help elevate them, and Devin Hall. You know, those are two guys who are going to give them a little punch on the perimeter. So Milan, I think, has that potential to really surprise people based on, you know, where they were last year, you know, some of their struggles before Shabazz came. And then Red Star, you know, I know it was Asvel, you know, I know. But there's a certain quality of basketball that you see. You know, it doesn't matter who you play, when that ball moves, when it's going side to side, when everybody's touching, when everybody's involved, when you see guys that look like they enjoy playing with one another, when you see a team strong on the rebounds, strong on ball movement, strong in the pick and roll, good in isolation, targeting the mismatch. These are the things you look at. You're not looking at just the opponent. You're looking at how fast they find solutions. You know, what are they doing? You know, Asvel obviously isn't a super quality team in terms of being a Final Four contender or something, but they do have size, they do have athleticism, and you know, the fact that Red Star was able to dominate them on the glass like that is extremely impressive, and the fact that they were able to, you know, just have an answer for everything on that court, and to be, you know, they're going to bring defense, right? You know, they're always going to lock up, they're always going to fight the Serbian way, physical, tough, hard nosed. But the way that this offense is flowing with that defense that they have, oh, that's something to be reckoned with.
Man, first round takes and projections for the season are always tricky. You might get burned about that. And in my few years of covering EuroLeague, I learned that you cannot go too high or too low. So I love the potential of Red Star, but I'm not going to go too high with them.
They got to be healthy, though. They got to be healthy. So if a key injury happens to a player, hey,
yeah,
it don't count.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I already read a lot of interesting round one reactions like, oh, Partizan is not going to make the playoffs like the last year. They're trash. Oh,
they were 0-3 last year. Last year, and then they turned it around. Like,
exactly. And
I mean, teams like Partizan, Fenerbahce, these teams are always going to be up there trying to fight for the title.
Never count out Obradovic, that's for sure. Never count him out. Yeah. I'll never go against the legend.
That's for sure.
Yeah, there were reactions like, oh, Barcelona is going to win its all, you know, because of that great game against FS. There's no more shots, so they're going to be free. They're going to play, you know, offensive-minded game. I mean, a lot of overreactions, I would say, that, which is normal because, you know, fans, they were missing EuroLeague basketball, so they might get too high very early. But I thought, in general, you as a players, do you remember any of your, let's say, early into the season overreactions toward yourself, toward your team, or something else that you remember and you're kind of, you know, you regret your early predictions?
I mean, for me, myself personally, I mean, last year I started somewhere and finished somewhere, and it was a great season for me. You know, I mean, last year we had a really unbelievable team in Gala. And then for stuff that happens, I mean, Izmir and Karshaka wanted me, so they let me go, and then people at the beginning were saying, why you guys bring in a player that couldn't even play in Gala? He was playing really bad in Gala. He's not going to do good. What you guys are doing? And then a couple months later, the fans was loving me, you know. So it's early in the season. It's a long season, you know. It's a lot of up and downs. It's a lot of teams, they're not trying to win and be first in October, November. They're trying to get to January, February, and be in that shape of being competitive, and it's tough to be out of one game, make it be too high or too low. You know, it's a long season. It's 10 months.
Yeah, for me it was probably 2 times. One time it was when I was in Gala, and I seen the roster. I was like, man, we're gonna be really good. And then the preseason started, and like we were struggling. And then Ataman goes on and says, we're going to win the Euro Cup and go to the EuroLeague. I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. Like, I hope we do, but I thought we were when I seen the roster. And then we're struggling to, like, find our rhythm. And, like, and then you started to see the potential and you started to see it growing. And then after, like, a month or two, I was like, okay, maybe we can win it. And we got a chance.
We got a chance.
And so then on the back end of that, I was in Kimki, and I look at the roster. I signed. Oh man, we're gonna be amazing. Greg Monroe, Lexi Shev, Stefan Jovic, Giannis Tema.
Repko was on that team as well.
It was Jonas Repko, Devin Booker, Jordan Mickey. I said, oh my goodness, this is a ridiculous team. And it was like, but we didn't play how we should have played. We should have played inside out, and we didn't. Like, I expressed my opinion. The players did. I was like, let's play inside. I'm a guard, and I'm like, we have these bigs: Jordan Mickey, Devin Booker, Greg Monroe. Greg Monroe's the best low post player I've seen. No one can guard him. I've seen him make a quality bigs just look horrible, and we just didn't play inside out. I think the coach wanted to play inside out, but I think things were beyond his control. And so we continued to just jack up 3-point shots and just shoot difficult shots. And I feel like if we would have played inside out, let the game come to us, ball movement, more of an equal opportunity thing, I think these could have been special. And then we ended up being horrible because we didn't play to our strengths. And so I've been on two sides of the spectrum, and that's when I was like, oh my goodness. And it's a good feeling when you underestimate yourself. You're like, I don't know. And then the team ends up being great. Kind of like that year at Gala or even last year at Karshak. I'm like, man, we're struggling a little bit. Then Braian comes and we go up high.
Last year.
So like, but to be on the other end, when you have all these expectations, everybody's talking about how great you are, and then you just lay an egg. Oh, that really hurts your heart as a player because you're like, dang, you're trying to do everything to prepare. And it's discouraging. And you put so much effort into the game, and just to see it not work. Well, it was Braian and Gala, or me and Kimki with my squad, and with us just not winning. It's something that you carry with you, and you're like, man, things could have been different if. But you live and you learn. You continue to work, and God willing, you get more winning seasons than losing, and you just stay healthy and keep playing the best you can. Control what you can control, young guys.
And just never get too high, never get too low. In any situation, whether you're predicting something, whether you're believing in your team, or you're having a roller coaster season, you never know how the things might end up. I mean, I heard from people close to Real Madrid that at some points of the season, I mean, when they won the EuroLeague, they said that, I mean, we didn't believe that we can, go all the way. We didn't believe that we're going to win. I've even heard rumors that, their head coach was close to be thrown out, and he was already in some discussions with the other EuroLeague team. So the situation was that bad, but EuroLeague and European basketball is, I think it's a little bit different compared to the NBA. A lot of unpredictable things might happen and change the momentum of the season, like Guarcian Yabusele did in Partizan series. So you just never know.
It's a long season. It's a long road, It's a lot of up and downs. Like Errick said, for the young players, just control what you can control. Stay in the gym, keep you working, stay focused, stay locked in, and everything goes around, What goes around, come around, And as long as you show up and do your work, I mean, everything's good.
Okay, gentlemen. So thanks for your time. Errick, it's great to see you back. Braian, it's a pity you're not in the EuroLeague. You signed with Maccabi. There was this medical thing, but we're probably sure, especially Errick is sure, who led a lot of players to the EuroLeague, that it's just a matter of time that you're gonna join the pack. And of course, I wish everybody peace. I hope things in Israel will change dramatically, and everybody will be able to get back home and to enjoy watching basketball without, So
well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it as always. And peace in Israel. I hope, the people can be safe, and, I don't want no more harm to them. Israel's a special place for me as well. Played 2 years there. Started my career overseas there. I love that country. Me and my wife actually went, during the FIBA break last year, to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem so she could see, the places and everything. And, it was just a special place. So, definitely praying for the people in Israel and, hoping, things can come to some type of normalcy for the people.
For me, thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure to be here, to be in the legendary bonus podcast, It's my first time. It was great, man. Thank you for having me.